For decades, buying a silencer has been difficult. But in 2005, Silencer Central set out to simplify the suppressor buying process. So whether you're planning your next hunt or putting together a range day, you'll enjoy every shot you take with Silencer Central, straight to your front door.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Black Rifle Coffee Podcast. It is your host. It's Mike Glover. I'm here with Aron Snyder, I'll say, is it okay to say co-founder or partner? Partner.
Yeah,
partner's a proper term.
Yeah.
Let's go with partner of Kifaru. Now, if you haven't seen Fieldcraft Survival's training, my company's training in Utah, we co-use a ranch owned by Kifaru in Spanish Fork, which allows us to do bushcraft, survival, mobility. At the end of January, we get a mobility experience, all the cool stuff because of Kifaru. Also, if you've been tracking me on social media, Aron Snyder and Kifaru is one of the first companies that I, as an entrepreneur, started to work with. First companies out the gate. They opened their doors. I went to their facility in Colorado, got the tour. But by then, the owner, who was, I think, in charge.
Yeah,
and
back then he was, yep.
Yeah, and then you've since stepped into the CEO position. But if you don't know Aron Snyder, you should, because all the things that we educate in hunting, he's the man. I mean, I don't think there's anybody who hunts more and has as much experience than Aron Snyder in backcountry hunting. Sure, there's guys who hunt from tree stands, that bait whitetail, but that's not Aron Snyder. Aron Snyder is the backcountry hunter, the guy that we look to as a subject matter expert. So, Aron, thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
No, I appreciate you having me on. I've been, obviously known you now for, I think, 2011 might have been the first time I talked to you. I was trying to think about that.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute. And I didn't really know who you were. It's kind of a funny story. Back then, obviously, because you were doing hood rat shit. And one of my buddies he was in basic training with Kevin, and then figured out who you were from there.
Yeah.
And then obviously you become close friends after that. But yeah, it's been the Kifaru thing's been an adventure because, Patrick owned it and then he handed it over to me, and then, Chad and I bought it. And then we moved to Wyoming, a few months ago, and then we're growing like crazy. And then let's face it, I didn't go to school to do any of this shit. So I'm winging it along the way. But
you've been doing it a while now, though.
Yeah, I'm getting the hang of it. There's always something that you don't realize you don't know until you like really screw it up. And then like for me, and I lead the same way. I would rather somebody bite off way more than they can chew and work their ass off to catch up, right? To make it up than just be lazy, right? And so, people are like, man, I can't believe you only sleep 4 hours. And I'm like, I'm winging it a lot. I have to sleep 4 hours to catch up on my screw-ups and learn. So I've never had to YouTube, like Google so much stuff in my life. Like, I've always been, like whatever, leadership books and, whatever, obviously, stoicism. I'm always trying, but like now I'm like, we're going to have to read about some TPS reports, right? I'm going to have to start learning a little bit more on the accounting, forecasting, but it's going good. So
yeah, same. It's business, at the time you're front running kind of the marketing aspect of getting out there and doing the thing, but getting down in the weeds now, being the CEO and also doing the thing. Cause it doesn't seem like your hunting's been affected, at least from the surface. You're still getting out there, right?
Yeah. No, just my mental stability. No, I have a good crew, and I have to mention that I've got a solid core crew of people around me that carry my ass, right? Because I couldn't, I'm right about to leave right now. I'm stopping on the way down to Arizona. I'm going to be 10 days down there. I guide after that, and then I've got a bunch of different the seminars and classes and everything else. So, it's Dana White, said something the other day. It was one of those things that pops up on Instagram, and he was like, anybody that works hard this day should own everything. And I can't remember the terminology. He was like, but all these people after COVID not wanting to go back to work and lazy, he was like, just work your ass off. You're going to crush it. And man, there's a lot of, truth to that. And not to, jump around, but like for me, well, you're the same. I just thought, if I just work my ass off, I'll figure it out. Like people are like, what were your goals? And I'm like, work, like try to make it. I didn't have an exact like roadmap for this, and I don't know if you did. You had an idea,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But it's not
yeah.
like I drew out a storyboard, right? I was just
Yeah.
like, I know I want to be out in the woods as much as possible, teaching, helping. But wasn't like I had a life coach beside me, mapping it out. So I just figured I'll work my ass off, figure it out, and now have people helping me that do the same thing. So it's been good.
Let's talk about that, because I know you as the backcountry hunter that has a lot of expertise in doing the thing, from solo hunts to like these crazy cross country experiences. Now Kifaru teaches land nav and all these skill sets. How did you get into hunting in the first place, and how did you link up with Kifaru?
Yeah, so the hunting, I'm from, my hometown is Detroit Lake, Oregon, which most people, it's 200 people. It's
Wow.
in the middle of Cascades, not a lot going on, but, cause, problems and go hunting and fishing and, as a kid, right? But it's a great place to, be raised. So at a young age, my dad wasn't like a really great hunter, but he took me out. And then I worked on a trail crew team where we cleaned off like the trails in the wilderness in the summers with crosscut saws. And that's what gave me the idea of backpack hunting. Because, when you're a kid and your dad's drinking, driving around, whatever, doing redneck shit, I didn't know what backpacking was or hunting. I was 13 years. Yeah, exactly. So then I'm working with these guys doing the trail crew thing, and Pacific Crest Trail goes right through there. So like I'm, 6-8 miles into the wilderness as a 14, 15-year-old kid, and there's animals everywhere. And I'm like, this makes sense. There's no one back here. I'm not going to be bothered. And so that's kind of what kicked off the backpack hunting for me. And then, as time went on, I was in the Army for a while. I got out. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have your skill set in the Army. So when I got out, I could be like, a cop or, you know what I mean? I didn't have a super like crazy high level. So I was like, I gotta just do something to where I can hunt a lot. So I ended up working on commercial built high rises, doing glass, aluminum, ironworking, and just like living in poverty, but saving as much money so I could take 3 or 4 months a year off. And what that taught me was if you get so good at what you do, it's hard to fire someone like that. And so I got really good at it, because when I would leave on August 15th and not come back, I knew I was still probably going to have a job, even though they weren't very happy that I was taking all that unpaid time off to go hunting.
Yeah.
I got skilled enough at it to where they kind of had to hire me back, which I'm not advocating that thought process, right? But it worked, and I wanted to be in the woods a lot. So I was doing that, and I was doing a lot of stuff on the side, writing articles, testing gear, and testing backpacks. One of the last backpacks I tested, 2009, 10, 11 time frame, was a Kifaru right in my backyard. They're fairly unknown. Finally met Patrick, and kind of a kooky, guy, like very, Patrick,
eccentric,
right?
yeah,
eccentric, yeah, and insane vocabulary, and we're talking, and I'm 100 miles an hour. He's very calm, and he's like, he's getting to know me, and I'm like, man, he gave me a backpack. I used it on a trip. It was the most comfortable thing I'd worn, but I didn't like the bag. And I came back and I'm like, man, we should design a different bag. He didn't really know me from Adam. Condensed version, fast forward, he adopts me as his son, has me take over the company in his place. So that's how I met Patrick, was just showed up on the front door like a bad penny, got a backpack from him, tried it out, and then he and I hit it off. And
it seemed at the time when I met you and Patrick and got the tour of the facility and everything, he was not a trusting person of people around him, but he profoundly trusted you. And that was the magic in the relationship. And at the time, when I was overseas still, at the time I was in the military and in the reserve component, but also contracting for the agency, I would watch all your stuff because you were the guy that worked for the company, but you were doing the thing. Like the Kifaru bag was getting the best testament and validation being in the backcountry, humping out, packing out solo, all the things. And nobody else in the industry was doing that. I mean, was that just part by design, or was that something that you just did?
It's happened. A lot of this people, again, and you might give different advice, but people ask me all the time, like, how do I get into the outdoor industry? And I'm like, yeah, what do you want? Do you want to just be in the outdoors? Because then you don't want to get in the industry. Like, yeah, I'm like,
because you won't be outdoors.
Go be a cop, right? Go be a fireman. Go do something. You get 4 on and 4, whatever the schedule is, right? 4 on 3 off. But what I did, just right place, right time, hard work, luck. Patrick. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And I'm not saying that in a arrogant way at all. Very few people actually get paid to go hunting. Right, it just doesn't happen.
To do what they love.
Yep, to do what they love, and I have to put myself in check. And reason why we're doing this podcast, I'm having a mental breakdown. And I call Mike and a couple other guys. I'm like, hey, talk me off the ledge here, right? And I got to remember, I am doing things that people would kill for. Like I get to do amazing things, and so when I get kind of in a hole, I'm like, I don't have to pay for any gear. I get to shoot, hunt. Do it pretty much whatever I want, surrounded by good people, and stay focused. Because if you just try to get in the outdoor industry, it's like, say, hey, how do I get in the tactical industry? It's like, put 25 years of hard work and service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
you mean not start an Instagram account? Because that's how you get in the tactical space. You just start an Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's the same. Like that's why I don't fuck with tactical stuff. It's not my thing. I don't have enough. I mean, when I say I don't have enough background, like, there are like multiple levels of hunting, right? Of, like you said, whitetail hunting, and the guy that goes out on the weekend and his buddies go out and set up a camp. And, as you go up that higher level, that upper echelon, the percentage of actual bona fide professionals gets slimmer.
Yes.
And then the tactical side of things, like I could fake it, right? Unless somebody like you came up and you'd eat my ass alive, but I could fake it for a while. I can speak the language. Well, what I had learned, like when we're talking about all this, like you were doing the thing, like I'm out there learning real quick, because I was not a tech guy. I didn't like social media. There's a lot of people out there full of shit, right? I mean, and there's a lot of people faking the funk and not giving great advice. And so when I met Patrick, I was writing these reviews, and I kind of had just said, you know what? I'm just going to speak my mind about gear. I'm going to do what I do. I'm not going to take money from companies unless I believe in that company, to the core. And I'm bouncing around in it, but it worked out. But there's not, again, like if I said, hey, Mike, how do I start a field craft? Could you sum that up in a sentence, right? Like, yeah, probably not. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a lot.
Yeah. It's interesting because you had a decade-long journey of working at Kifaru, and then how did it work? Did Patrick decide he wanted to step away and then offered it up? The things that you don't want to get into, I'm just trying to set the context of how, because you're running stuff now.
Yeah, I'll leave out like some of the different ins and outs, but it was this time of year, I was on a hunt in Arizona. I had just blown a stock on like a 36-inch wide buck. And
I've done that several times.
Patrick,
in Arizona especially.
Yeah, exactly. And Patrick gets sweating, cactus in my feet, whatever. And he calls, he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, not good, man, not good. I'm sweating, and I just blew a deer out. What's up? And because he didn't call me very often unless it was important. He's like, do you want to purchase the company from me? And I was like,
just outright said that.
Yeah, and I think what he was looking at is the betterment of his family. Like it was a family-owned, operated company. Like, de-stress the family, because day-to-day activity,
tearing people
they all
apart.
work. Oh yeah. And so I'm like, man, I don't have kind of juice, but I've got friends that do, that I trust. Let me talk to them. There was several people that had asked me to try to purchase Kifaru that I just didn't trust. And there was one guy, Chad, that I trusted. I called Chad.
Amazing human being. Yeah, great guy.
Super good dude. And I called Chad, and he's like, well, what do you think? And there was a few options on the table. One was, look, I got to talk to Patrick. You and Chad, you and I could just start our own backpack company if you want to do that. He's like, what do you mean? I said, look, I got to talk to Patrick and see what's going on, not in a negative or positive way, just info, like, hey, what's up with the family? Like, what's going on? And he was like, well, I like Patrick. He's like, what do you think? And I was like, man, if you're good for it, let's dive down the rabbit hole. We'll start doing, due diligence and figuring, doing the thing. And 6 months later, we purchased it. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. And then, Patrick he should have retired a long time ago. And I don't mean that like he needed to. I mean, like he'd earned it, right?
Yes.
Like, he could have sold the company. And when I say sold the company, like, he's, by the time he retired, and he got to live a great life, but, he's pretty damn old.
Yeah,
And that was
he
one
was old
thing-
when I met him over a decade ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so, like, when he finally retired, his body was kind of falling apart. And that was one thing I wished I would have pushed him towards, which it always, it could seem diabolical, right? Like, hey, Patrick nudging him to sell the company. But for me, it was more like, man, like, I'm trying to, like, even now, I'm 46. I'm trying to figure my exit strategy out to go do other things once the company's running on its own to like, hey, and I was trying to get him to do that, but he never had a me till the last 10 years, right? He, not saying there was anything wrong with his daughters, but it takes a very, can you find a mic? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Difficult to do.
Yeah. And when I say find a mic, not just your business experience or your tactical experience, but also just your personality and what you like a Kevin.
Yeah, front running the company, it's hard to.
Oh, dude, believe me, I've been looking at somebody to, I have Anders, right, that can run it, and he does great, but then you need a face.
Yes.
That's what's the most difficult part of it is finding a face with a good background, reliable. I mean, it's hard to do that. I mean, I follow along with, everything you've got going on, and which is, it's super cool, but like even on the training side of things, when you're teaching list off like what for what I do, I just teach land nav. That's about the only cross pollination you and I would have. You guys teach tactics, home security,
pistol, personal security, defense, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, could somebody come in tomorrow and take your place?
Yeah, it'd be hard to do. I mean, on the tactical side, I could throw a 5.56 round and hit a tactical instructor. I think more so to find somebody who has longevity and just isn't the flat range guy. Like, there's a lot of flat range guys who just kind of want to tuck away on the flat range.
Yeah.
That's where they live, and they do very well with people. But you put them out in front of people, and they don't want that limelight.
Yeah.
I mean, I got special missions unit operators who work for us.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be me.
Yeah.
They don't want to get out and express their opinion because they want a quiet life they earned and teaching SWAT teams and expressing those experiences. So I can imagine that'd be difficult for you because when I think of Kifaru, it's funny, even back then, I didn't think about Patrick. I thought about Aron Snyder. I actually thought you owned the company over a decade ago.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
Yeah.
A lot of people did. And I one of the things, and I had a lot of job offers to leave Patrick, but one thing with me that's hard to do is, you dance with the one that brought you, and
Loyalty.
I would not have had those other job offers if it wasn't for Patrick getting me to the position I was in.
Yeah.
And people fucking forget that, and it drives me violently crazy of like, hey, if you and I are buddies and you put me under your wing, and in 7 years I'm like, man, Mike, this guy's offering me $200K a year. Well, he wouldn't be fucking offering me that if you wouldn't have put me in the position I was in, and I'm about to screw you, and people do that every day.
I could name 5 people from my company who did that who no longer work for my
One of the
company.
reasons I called you yesterday to rap was I know that, and that that hurts, right? Not just on a financial, or I say business level, but it hurts personally.
It does.
And that's one thing that was hard for me, and I thought about it a few times with Patrick, over time, and it just in me, I just couldn't do it, and so I was like, you know what? I'm not swinging a hammer. I'm not, whatever. I'm not hanging out of a building. I've got a good job, and we'll see where this goes. I'm going to trust that Patrick will, take care of me. And, it worked out great, but I would have never had all of these opportunities if it wasn't for that man. So it would have been pretty hard for me to leave him.
Is Patrick still alive? Is he?
Yeah, he is. I mean, like he's doing all right, but I mean, he's got to be 86 now, 87, maybe 85.
Yeah.
I talked to him when we opened the new facility just to show him, I want him to be proud of what we're doing and make sure he understands the legacy of
the brand.
Is going strong. So go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, let's talk about what is Kifaru, because a lot of people think it's just a backpack company, but Kifaru is a lot more than that.
Yeah. I mean, even more so now. But yeah, we do, as far as what we offer, it's all American made, all American components, very compliant, backpacks, sleeping bags, shelters, stoves, accessories. It's I mean, and when I say day packs, camera bags, whatever, chest rigs, not like crazy tactical, like fly fishing chest rigs, fanny packs, all kinds of stuff. And now we're offering, which I talked to you about, like we're starting to offer schools, and not like what you do, but like hunting, like, archery.
Hunter prep, right?
Yeah, hunter prep. I mean, same, but for hunting that you do.
That's a big deal, yeah.
That's another thing that I have trouble with, or when I say that, like Patrick was the same way, is don't mess with a man's paycheck, right? And so for like, I would never, when I say never, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on the podcast, but like first thing I did is, hey, I'm starting a school. I'm sending all the fucking tactical guys your way, right? And when this kicks off, because I can bring in instructors that could do it, but we're friends, and I'm just not gonna say it screw you, but I'm not gonna screw you.
Yeah.
But it'd be like if you started a crazy hunting,
didn't think about you.
Yeah, exactly. At least mention it. And so, like right now, we're working on, we're bringing all of the sewing back in house in the new facility. We're going to call it the schoolhouse, and it's just going to be, land nav, archery, tuning, things like that. Some survival, but more like applied survival, or, people kind of get, if I'm down to, building a wicker basket to survive, I've fucked up, right?
Yeah.
Like shit's going south.
If you're building a log cabin in the woods.
Something's gone terrible. I don't mess with that. But it's like, hey man, you're on the side of a mountain and you're cold. Here's good fire starters, right? Like, hey, you got to generate some heat to get, so you get your sleeping bag to warm it up, like just common sense stuff. That's what we're going to start working on there, because one, it's my strong point, right? It's my special. That's what I'm good at, and I try to stay in my lane. And two, I can just hand them off to you when it's more than that. So it's expanding. Like I said, though, it's been a learning experience for me with moving the company, the larger facility, and everything else, and honestly too, like we talked about, just dealing with the toxicity of social media and some of the other stuff as we're growing. And you've dealt with it just as much as I have, if not worse, trying to deal with that. Am I making the right decision? I've talked to Chad. I'm like, dude, maybe I'm not the right guy to run this company. Maybe I just need to go do my thing hunting, because, I'm not, I was not built for this specific, what's the word? This time, place, and space in life was not meant for me, right? Or fucking you.
I think a lot of guys in our peer group feel the same way. Well, let's talk, before we get into that, let's actually talk about the move, because you guys, when I first met you, were in Colorado, right outside of Denver, right? Mm-hmm. And then you guys moved into Wyoming. Why the move, and where did you guys move, and what was the purpose of that?
Well, one, Colorado is starting to suck, right? It's like moving to Portland, Oregon.
Dude, Colorado. When I visited you, I lived in Colorado and Durango. I lived in Monument. Mm-hmm. Colorado was amazing. Yep. Now, in a Castle Rock, beautiful. Now, it's like I don't even recognize the place.
It's difficult for me, because I got stationed in Fort Carson in 2000, I think.
Great duty station.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I asked for it, right? It was like Fort Lewis and in Carson. And I ended up getting out of the Army in Carson, and, traveled the world a little. When you're poor and you want to hunt everywhere and you can't travel to it, you got to move there, right? Yeah. So I moved all around to hunt all over the place. Anyway, when I I got a divorce and was like, where do I want to go back to Colorado? Move to move to Colorado because of my experience or time at Fort Carson. It was amazing back then, right? Moved back in 07, 08 time frame. Mm-hmm. I'd kind of traveled the world some. I got back there, and then it just kind of started to just go down, hill. And some people are like, oh yeah, once the weed came, that screwed everything. I don't think that's true, right?
Neither. It was the population. A lot of people came.
And what that population brought. Right. Yeah. But as far as like, dude, I've never heard of a kid getting beaten because his dad was smoking weed, right? I've heard of drinking, right? Yeah. So I'm like, I didn't get like I'm not blaming it on that, but when most of Colorado was California or whatever, then those views spread, and I'm like, we need to get out of here. And I didn't want to leave Patrick far before we looked at buying Kifaru, right? When I was just working for Patrick, I was just like, man, I don't know about what once COVID hit, especially, like, I called somebody ma'am. I'm getting yelled at for not using, well, I assumed she was a woman. And the next thing you know, I don't have a mask on and some fucking 300-pound lady screaming at me that I'm not masked up. And I'm like, I don't run into this shit out in the sticks, right? This is just not for me. And so we looked here to be by you.
That's right, yeah.
Yep, we looked here. We looked in Idaho, a couple spots in Colorado. And
it's expensive here, though.
Wyoming.
That's one of the things. It's super expensive.
That's the only reason why we didn't move here.
Yeah.
Because I'm all about not building an army, but like building, a big, good, solid hub, a family, right?
Yeah.
And the only problem here is like be able to, my people to afford living here.
Yes.
But we looked here, and then the Riverton, Chad owned a business in Riverton, kind of had like a black eye, like that city.
Yeah.
I know. I didn't, it's fine with me, and I was like, well, we found a building that was like 60, I think it was 58 or 68,000 square feet.
Oh, wow.
At a good price.
Yeah. Riverton, Wyoming.
Yep. Yeah. And at that point, and once we got done I flew my crew out here. They came out and met you, like my department heads, and they all loved it. They were like, we're going to live in a porta potty. And I was like, yeah, no, I get it.
It's true. The median, just so you guys know, the median house in Park City is $2.2 million.
Oh, it's insane.
It's $1 million for a 400 square foot like hole in Park City.
Yeah, no, when we looked in Riverton, so my wife and I did a custom home.
Yeah.
On, I think it was 16, don't make me lie, but 16 acres.
That's perfect.
Custom.
Yeah.
$560,000, everything.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
And then like
you don't want to know I paid for this house.
Oh, dude, I believe you. I mean, but my wife's a realtor. She looked, right? She's
Oh,
licensed
my God.
here. And so, I was able to get almost every one of my crew to purchase a house that they could not have done in Colorado or here.
Yeah, that's great.
So, but yeah, that's why Riverton was just, no state, no sales tax. Hunting's amazing. People are good, as far as like everybody's waving. Like my wife, when she first got there, she's like, do you know that guy? I'm like, no, they just wave here. They just wait. And
they're just friendly.
Yeah, exactly. Like I pull over, I'm taking photos of sheep and, whatever. You all right? I'm like, no, I'm good. You sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm just taking photos of sheep. And then the guy's like, hey, you know what? And telling me his whole life story of, she's Italian, right?
She's like, something's going on.
Yeah, somebody pulls up. She's like, what's this fucking guy? I'm like, no, we're in a different place here, honey. But yeah, that's why Wyoming. That's why we ended up moving.
I love
there,
Wyoming, man. Wyoming's, Evanston's like an hour from here. And some of the best hunting I've ever done is in northern Utah and in Wyoming. I just got back from an elk hunt in Gillette, Wyoming, which is bum F in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But Wyoming's a great state. I mean, Wyoming's a horrible state. Never moved to Wyoming.
Oh, dude, there's been some locals that have been like, you're going to screw this, up for us. And I'm like, and I don't get too... Twitter page. Actually, the guy that built, I have 2 Great Pyrenees, big, I built huge pen for him, like 6-foot fence. And,
big sheepdogs.
Yeah. And, I wanted him to have a ton of space when I wasn't home to, throw him out there. And the guy building the fence, and I did get irritated. He was like, I'm glad your company moved here. You're going to screw it up for all the locals been living here. And I'm like, yeah, I'm an old man. I was like, honestly, I'm just trying to bring jobs to the community and, make the community better. Well, it's going to screw up property taxes. And I'm like, that's one way to look at it if you're negative. I was like, the other part of it is your home is going to be worth more.
Yeah.
So
you have a job, more job options.
And he said one other thing. I can't remember exactly what it was. And I said, I tell you what, man, when any of your family, what was your last name again? I said, come and apply for me. I'm not going to hire him. Okay. I was like, dude, you're an asshole. My wife was laughing. I'm like, dude, I had you come build the fence. I'm giving you some work. And he was like, I'm just saying, we don't want to turn this into California. I'm like, yeah, that's why we moved here. I don't either. I'm like, dude.
A hunting company.
Yeah. Well, I was like, you see my house. There's 20 3D targets in the front yard, 40 in the back. I've got weapons everywhere. Do I look like I'm a Californian? And he was like, no, I get it. I'm just saying. And I was like, yeah, I really don't honestly get what you're saying.
At all.
Most of the, I had 2 state cops pulling my driveway, and I'm like, I have no idea why they're here. This is not good. Yeah. And I'm like, looking at Amy, I'm like, I don't know, honey, I didn't do anything wrong. Nothing.
Did I do something wrong?
Yeah, no, they watched me on social media, came up just to shoot the shit. Asked if they could bring their bows over. Yeah, and, I was like, yeah, come on over. And it was funny because when they pulled up, tons of people send me knives and everything else.
Yeah.
And I used lighter weight knives, and I had 2 knives that just showed up that were not for what I would do. And I was like, you guys want these? They're like, "Wait, really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're more for what you need." And they're like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, just don't give me and Amy a ticket." And I shouldn't even tell this story, but I'm going to.
You have to now.
Yeah. May have been drinking driving home and got pulled. I wasn't doing anything wrong but speeding.
Yeah.
I got pulled over and he came up and he was like, "Hey, you were speeding back there." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm sorry." And he was like, "Do you have we had a get together at the shop." And I'm like, yeah. He's like, "Have you been drinking?" And I'm like, yeah, I have. He's like, "All right, follow me." He just drove me home. Like,
oh man,
yeah.
See, that's the good old. That's like what it should be, right?
I think so. And when I say that, meaning I should not have been, and I wasn't like shit faced, but I mean I should not have been drinking and driving, obviously.
Yeah.
But like he was cool about it. He was like, when he got there, he's like, "Man, next time get somebody to drive you or whatever."
Of course,
but he like I would have passed any sobriety test.
Yeah,
but,
you weren't wasted, but you told the truth.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like, "Yeah, man, I've been drinking," and for me that makes me want to help that community even more, right? Like we're trying to really, bring, like again, get the black eye that Riverton had, like get away from that. And what's funny, my elk rack got stolen this year. I don't know if you saw that. Like
No. What happened?
Shot a big bull. I gave it to my buddy. He's my videographer to boil, right?
Yeah.
At Euromount, and it got stolen out of his yard. And so immediately, "Oh yeah, that's what you get for living in like Riverton, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, look. That was in Lander, where all the rich people live. He lives in Lander. It didn't get stolen. Like people thought it was stolen out of my yard." I'm like, one, my driveway's like half a click.
Yeah.
I got 2 giant polar bears.
You got sector stakes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, nobody's coming to my house.
Claymores.
Yeah. I was like, nobody. I was like, this is at my buddy's house in Lander, where it got stolen, which is like the richer, whatever city, right?
Yeah.
15 miles from Riverton. But yeah, I mean, I really like living up there, and I've had nothing but. I mean, other than my elk getting stolen out of Lander, I mean, as far as it goes, I can't.
Well, it's crazy.
say
They
enough.
stole your elk. Like in other places, they steal TVs, they steal cars.
Yeah, no.
They're stealing antlers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it was a big elk.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like 350. I mean, it was the one I shot this year with South, my buddy of mine. But I mean, it couldn't happen to a better person. As far as like, I'm not a big trophy guy. I mean, of course I wanted it, but like, I mean. It is what it is. I mean, it really, I was on another hunt and there was like this huge, everybody wanted to get the elk back for me. So there was like, I don't know, flyers and posts. And I'm like, you are handicapping my ability to find this thing. And so I called them, I'm like, pull it all down. They're like, it's too late now. And I'm like, look, I don't exactly like blend in, right? There is no undercover with me. And I said, now that they know it's mine, if I go into an antler buyer, yeah, I'm going to get kicked out, right? Like, and then, also once they realize, obviously, the platform I have, they'll probably just cut it into dog treats.
Oh, yeah.
So I told them, I was like, the moment you posted that thing was in pieces.
It's gone.
Yeah, you bury the body, right? You got to get rid of the body. So, but yeah, that was the only really negative side. But no, it's been great up there.
Black Rifle Coffee Company set out on a mission to make the best cup of coffee that's ever hit your mug. The dream was to sell enough premium coffee to be able to build a support network of veterans, first responders, and law enforcement. Thanks to your support, all that dream has become a reality. Black Rifle Coffee is roasted by a veteran-led team of brilliant coffee graders here in the United States who work tirelessly to roast and bag the highest quality coffee right here in America. The coffee is truly one of a kind, but it's your support that gets the gear, funding, and supplies into the hands of those on our front lines. This year alone, your support has helped BRCC expand our team of active duty service members, veterans, and veteran family members. Black Rifle was also able to donate over 120,000 bags of coffee to veterans and first responders in 2022, all thanks to you. You can purchase at blackriflecoffee.com. You can also find Black Rifle Coffee in grocery and convenience stores near you. Black Rifle Coffee, America's coffee.
For decades, buying a silencer has been difficult. But in 2005, Silencer Central set out to simplify the suppressor buying process. So what happens when you buy from Silencer Central? Well, they help you find the right silencer for you, they handle the paperwork so you don't have to, and they give you a free NFA gun trust so you can share your suppressor. Silencer Central allows you to pay while you wait. They make sure your purchase is carefully prepped, packaged, and protected until the moment you're approved. Once approved, they deliver it straight to your door. So whether you're planning your next hunt or putting together a range day, you'll enjoy every shot you take with Silencer Central, straight to your front door.
How many employees did you wind up moving there?
23. 3.
Awesome.
I think. 22 or 3 we moved up. And then we have 19, and we have 26 currently working for us.
How far is that from here, from Heber City?
Not far, man. 5.
Oh, that's easy.
5 hours. Yeah, I mean, it's
easy drive.
I hit some snow, but it's 6 hours now with the snow. But no, it's close, and we're bringing all the sewing back in house, so we'll have 100 inside of a year. When I say all of it, like we sew some stuff in house, but like you saw the size of the old building, right?
Yeah,
So,
massive.
yeah, and now this one's 3+ times the size of the old building.
Oh my
and
gosh.
so we had to outsource some things. I mean, in the U.S. With very compliant, sewers or whatever, we want it all, back in house. So that way, like if you need something sewn,
Yeah,
we just sew it for you, right? Like we have an entire workforce of just sewers. We can do custom and everything else. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I've always known Kifaru. Like I've used all the bags. Glenn Eberl from Eberl Stock is a buddy of ours. He helped me and Kevin Owens when we were snipers in 06. We didn't have anything, and this guy was sending us bags to bag out our long guns. And I always have known Kifaru to stand out as kind of like the rugged tier 1 backcountry pack versus everybody else's pack. Like I used all of them, but Kifaru had the integration of carrying the rifle out of the scabbard, having access to it, and then being able to hump a lot of weight. I remember even having the meet with Pat, and he was talking about the frame systems that you have integrated into the packs, which I believe is your own IP, right? You guys own a lot of that intellectual property.
Well, it's starting to run out now, so I've got a new frame I'm working on, kind of carrying on that. But it's 19 years.
Oh wow!
And it's out, right? So like Glenn, and I like Glenn, and I like Everly Stock. Like his rifle thing, it ran out.
Yeah.
So and that was
now everybody's bagging the guns.
Oh yeah, that was his claim to fame. I mean, that was, and I'm not saying
from the biathlon days. Yeah.
Oh yeah, people don't even know this. He's a competitor, but Everly Stock was from his days of doing the ski shooting, and he made a stock. He had a patent on an actual stock for a rifle for that, and then he came up with that system that could go down his back. Which really, it's hard to get into the backpacking world. The one thing with Glenn is he, it's pretty genius, right?
He's a smart dude, man. Talking to that guy, I'm like, okay, you are smart.
Well, what's funny, if you look at patents, if you read the umbrella of that patent, you can tell Glenn wrote it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, it's like literally reading Gone in the Wind, or With the Wind. It's like, I'm like, anything really attaches to a gun that attaches to a pack.
I own it.
He covered it, So, because we came out with something that we were trying to do, and I wasn't trying to copy Glenn, but we got a letter from a lawyer, right? And I called Glenn, and I was like, look, man, I'm not trying to copy your stuff. And I was like, but we're trying to do a different system. And he was cool about it. He was like, I'm still going to take you to court. And I'm like, I get it. Yep, we're good.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll stop. And Glenn, Glenn's an amazing guy. But the thing is he had umbrellaed that patent so big.
Yeah.
Like literally, if you put Velcro on a gun and stuck it to a pack, he owned it. But no, he's done a great job too with his stuff.
Yeah.
But we have the gun bearer where you can hold it on the side. We have like different systems where you can carry. Like now it doesn't matter because Patrick got really big during the Iraq War, where 1000D Cordura in tanks, right? And then fast forward now. Nobody wanted 1000D. Everything's got to be lightweight. Yeah. And so we had to kind of alter. But we've done some custom stuff for like ground branch, and we because we can build in house.
Yeah, and it's very compliant, right?
Yeah, very compliant. We had a crew come in once, and they were like, they laid out the weapons, and we have Eric Bender, very smart, like brainiac guy, our designer, and they're like, it's going to need to look like it holds a tennis racket and balls, and I'm like.
Yep.
Motherfucker, you're missing a finger. I don't think you're going to, be able to look like a tennis player. But so we built this crazy system for them. And the thing is that's cool or not cool. They know we will not take advantage of the promotion of that. And that was one of the reasons we got some of that business. And, some of the reasons I do with the military training I do now was, I didn't go hashtag work with Ground Branch, right? I was just cool to have them come out. And then we worked with we've built quite a few packs for like the SAS,
Yeah.
Australian SAS
Yeah.
specifically.
Great
I had
dudes,
to prep my shop for the C word because they use it a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, look, to them, it's like us saying, shit. And I was like, they use the C word a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad.
Rhymes
when
with
they-
sunt.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got like 7 Hugh Jackmans shredded like in the it was cool. But they've flown over doing winter training, and we've worked with them some too. Which is super cool. I mean, it's always good if you can help groups, organizations, or whatever you want to, military like that. Hang out with them,
Yeah.
right, and then you learn. They tell stories and whatever. It's more of a, like you said, break bread.
Yes.
Rather than they just place an order, we send it out. It's way cooler when you.
They're going to be
hang out with
smaller
them.
orders, but the quality of the people and what that's going to support is huge, man. I wanted to talk to you about the toxicity of the hunting industry first, because look, the hunting industry is a weird one. I don't think the hunting industry was very popular in popular culture until certain guys got involved. Like Steve Rinella is a big one, right? When Steve had an investor come in, and then that started to evolve the business. His books, his Netflix series, all of these things going on Joe Rogan's podcast started blowing up. And that's when I saw some real positive light shown on hunting. But with that positive light came the trolls, right? Came a whole bunch of toxic drama. And you've been in the hunting industry for a long time, and you've done it. It's weird. I say you've done it. I want to say you've done it for real. But somebody like myself, who's I would consider myself an amateur backcountry hunter. When I backcountry hunted in Idaho and Sawtooth, it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. Yeah. It equated to the most difficult military training that I've done in special operations, and there was no exaggeration. Now, you could have guided hunts that are catering to you, but if you actually want to go into the backcountry and hunt, it's hard. And not a lot of people, like you said, do that. You've dealt with the toxic stuff recently. What is the shift that you've seen in the culture? Because this is something me and you wouldn't have a conversation about 10 years ago, not even 3 years ago. But now it seems like every person in every major industry, tactical, overlanding, all the industries we cover, there's all this infighting and drama and just BS. You're starting to see it now. What is going on?
Yeah, I don't, I would need a shrink to come in to probably like describe it better, but it's weird to me because when you have a community that's at jeopardy to begin with, right? I mean, hunting's at risk.
The 2A community in jeopardy, hunting in jeopardy.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize how much.
Yeah,
and so for me, I'm always like strength in numbers to a certain degree. So that was my view for a while. But if some of those numbers, they're few, you don't want people, shooting holes in the bottom of the boat. Well, one of it's going to be jealousy. And I will say 100% on my end, and I've been very candid about this, Cameron Haynes, who's one of the more, or if not the most well-known.
Yeah, for sure.
Rewind 10 years, I would talk shit about Cam. It was jealousy. And I don't have any issue saying that. Now I look, fucking dude's a stud.
Yeah. Was it immaturity or?
Oh, yeah. I mean, fucking, you name it, right?
Yeah,
like whatever.
Yeah.
But I think part of being able to say that means you've learned quite a bit in your own, I'm going to say journey, like you've grown up.
You've grown up, yeah.
Yeah, and so, I'm, at 30, 35, when I'm looking at someone like a Cam, and I'm like, I shoot as big as stuff as him, I backpack hunt, I'm, whatever. You don't realize it at the time, but you're really putting forth effort into whining about someone doing things that maybe you can or cannot do. But the reality is, if you just shut up, focus,
and do it. Yeah.
Which is what I got smart and just did. I'm like, I'll just do my thing.
Yeah.
Well, when you have different people, that toxicity, you have hate pages, right? You have shills, you have all this stuff. I just think that as I'm going to say internet, the social media, as it grows, you're going to have certain people grow that are legit, right? Like good people. And then you're going to have people that are wanting to learn from the legit people. Let's say that's 80%.
Yeah.
Let's say 10% of that's hate pages, and the other 10% is just trolls, eating pizza pockets in their mom's basement.
Yeah. Which are delicious, by the way.
They are very, very good. I will say that.
I could crush one right now.
Yeah, that is true. Can we make one? No. When you look at it that way, that 10 to 20%, it stands out more than, it's like a review. You can have 100 good reviews and one bad one.
And everybody pays attention to the bad.
The bad one. Yeah. So when you have, and I, just talking to you about this, and some other people, like you have, 75 really good messages in one day, and you get 1 to 2 bad ones. You focus on those bad ones. Well, now a lot of this toxicity is probably not as bad as we think, but it certainly could be.
Yeah.
So what's happened? You have more jealous people. That social media has grown, and when I say not just jealous people, but also jealous at someone else, but literally just like psychologically have issues. I mean, think about it. To start a hate page, what kind of a human are you to start one of those?
Yeah.
I mean,
like get a job. Like you don't have a job, you don't have kids, you don't have a spouse. Like how do you find recreational time to start something so distasteful and gross? Like I don't get that.
Well, and I, trying to look at it from different perspectives of, let's say they're like, hey, we want to get some of the more fake people, bring them to light.
Yeah.
Okay, I can understand the concept. But if you're a hate page, you're already losing like a ton of ground or whatever. So it's like, well, why don't you like mentor, like we talked about, like try to teach people my version of the right way, your version of the right way, the right way to get into the industry, rather than just posting like jacked up memes and hatred. And
yes.
I'm just not built that way. You know what I
I'm
mean?
not either. It doesn't even cross my mind.
No, I mean, I see goofed up stuff that I may think, dude, you're kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
But you don't post it, right?
Yeah,
you don't put that online. And so part of the problem, and I think you and anybody in our age demographic is you can't, there's no consequence. That is the number one problem. There's no consequence.
Yes.
So if I signed up under a whatever account tonight, a fake account tonight, and start talking crap about you, there's nothing you can't stop me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's say, as that grows, and I'm talking about crap about you. Now I'm talking crap about Andy Stump and Evan or Matt Best.
Yeah.
And if I'm sucking away 1% of your time, I'm winning.
You're winning.
I'm winning
for sure.
1%. And I can tell you in the last few days, I'm losing, right? I had to call you to talk me off the ledge, you and Eddie, right? I was like, because their life is only there, like where you and I consider victory or success is by empowering other people, bringing up people around us, making your company succeed.
Yeah.
Their success is bringing you down.
Yes. Getting attention.
And so when you ask what went on, that's what's going on. Is there are people out there, to me, that are just that is, rather than succeeding in life, their goal is to bring down people that are.
Yeah.
And
they want to burn everybody around them to make themselves stand out, versus our tactic, which is if we build everybody around us, we grow together.
Yeah.
Right? It's something that I've seen more and more of in every industry, which is one of the reasons I've gotten out of the tactical industry. I mean, I pioneered in a lot of ways preparedness. I mean, there are a few companies, Warrior Poet Society, John Lovell, Mike Pfeiffer, Last Line of Defense, who have really pioneered survival and preparedness. Sheepdog Response, Tim Kennedy, and my focus is more focused on mobility and overlanding to teach preparedness than it is tactical training, because what I've seen mostly in the 2A community is just this infighting. Like I have, I'm hosting the Black Rifle Coffee podcast, and people attack Black Rifle Coffee because they think there's some conspiracy with the Democratic Party. It's like, Evan Hafer recruited me for the agency. He vetted me, and he's a Green Beret, and he's killed a lot of bad guys, and he's a good friend of mine. Like, I know at the core who that human being is, and he loves guns and freedom more than any American I know. And so you could believe me, a man who knows him because I worked with him, he's vetted me, or you could believe a troll running his mouth on social media about something he knows nothing about. And so I imagine a lot of the people who are talking to you as an expert in backcountry hunting don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, no. And I mean, whether it be the subject matter at hand or me as a person, right?
Yeah.
And so it's weird because when you, man, and not to whatever hold hands and like kumbaya, but like truly when you build people up around you, I've never seen anything negative come around that.
Nothing.
Unless you get, when I say that, meaning there are people I've built up around me that have turned. And when I say turned, I've made bad decisions on, and I know it's happened to you.
Yeah.
I've made bad decisions on maybe, people I've chosen to work with or help out. So, and it's weird when you look at that, like, why did you choose the person you did? Why did I choose the person I did? And what happened with them? I tell you what happened is the toxicity of social media and getting a big head. And I say that, and I'm sure we're going to hear hatred about this, but when you get to a point where you can say whatever you want, do whatever you want on social media, there's no repercussions. And when you're physically threatened, like, hey, man, shut up and beat your ass, you say, well, I'll just call the cops. That is a weird, that is not how I was raised, right? And so for me as a man.
That's not how you handle things as men.
Either one. You and I are going to fight if that happens, or you'll shoot me or we'll beat each other with baseball bats, but something is going to get settled. And at the end of it, we're like, dude, all right, you're right.
We got that out.
Yeah, we got it out of the way. It doesn't work like that anymore. And social media makes it much, much worse. Mike Tyson was right. I mean, it is given tactical photography. Dude, photography might be worse than tactical ore hunting. And
I know, right?
Yeah, a bunch of little dorks yelling at each other, right? But, and I hope, like, long-term, what will happen is people like you or me or Andy or Eddie or these guys is we actually leave the norm, start our own like specific websites where there's a intergalactic hub. Like you can go from my site to yours or whoever that gets away from social media to a certain degree. So we are in control of whatever negativity or positivity is on there.
Yeah.
Because like there's nothing worse than the anonymity of being a dick, right? Like, no name, right? No info. I don't know your background, and you're on there talking about Mike.
Zero followers. Hiding behind. Yeah. And what I've noticed about that is, I have former employees who've worked for me who I've gone out of my way. I mean, personally, like not just professionally, but personally gone out of my way to support these guys. And these guys have turned around and they use social media as a weapon. They've weaponized social media against my company or against myself. And I think to myself, like, man, all the things that I know about these specific people, the evidence that I have, literal physical evidence I have of these human beings and their disgusting behavior, and I could just drop it. I could literally start accounts, blow them up with memes, blow them up with evidence, with videos, with imagery, but I would never do that because it's not the person that I am. But there are people in this world now.
That's because you're a man, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I know it's crazy. It's crazy. And now I see these guys, especially like Aron Snyder is like a 6'1", 225-pound jacked ass dude who will beat your ass. And I see guys like you and Tim Kennedy. Like Tim Kennedy, I was Tim Kennedy's sergeant major. And I was scared shitless of this dude because I'm a jiu-jitsu practitioner, and I knew if this dude touched me, he would pretzel roll me because
I'm scared of Tim.
Dude, he would like Tim. I'm like 10 inches taller than Tim, but he's a silverback gorilla who will pretzel roll you in half. Andy Stumpf, who probably a year ago I could beat his ass. Now Andy Stumpf, I'm like I need to go back in time and start training because Andy Stumpf's going to beat my ass. These guys are guys you don't want to have confrontations with. And I see these guys who virtue signal, who talk the crap, and they can get away with it on social media, but they would never say it to your face. And I think that's the nature and progressive path of this world we live in. It's fragility. It's weak society. It's weak men. What's the fix? Where do we go from here? Like, do we get behind paywalls? Do we insulate ourselves?
Man, I think paywalls is one, and obviously, like in the hunting community, I've kind of like I'm out on not an island, but somewhat. Yeah, like I've done my own thing, right? And so
you've
but
always been that guy to do your own thing and just focus on the task, which is backcountry hunting.
Yeah, and I think, but like paywalls, like pay to play, not like a large amount, because when you are able to, it's no different putting in for tags, like this tag for this mule deer area, it's 100% guaranteed if you send in for the tag.
Yeah,
that kills ton of people out of it right there. So the pay to play thing I think is a good idea. I also think like owning your own little your city or your own organization, right?
Platforms, apps,
everything, because I like teaching. I want for people to the things I've experienced in life, be able to pass that on. I think that's going to be the fix, man. And when I say that, like podcasts.
Yeah.
Easy, right?
Long form contextual content.
Yeah, and and then I think some of the things I think would be interesting is getting some of these chuckleheads on a podcast. Like, hey, let's discuss this. Like, where are you coming from with this? And
not a 10-minute live, but like an hour-long conversation, right?
Oh, yeah, because when you look at I did one with Matt Ranello, Steve's brother.
Yeah.
And he's like totally it was awkward, but good podcast. What that podcast did, he's not like Steve.
He doesn't like Steve?
No. He doesn't like me either.
Really?
But what that podcast showed is two people with very parallel or opposite ends perspectives can have a diplomatic, full-grown adult conversation and walk away friends, right?
Wow.
And is
that on your Kifaru podcast?
It's on his podcast, and which isn't very good because he's the way he. Great idea, horrible delivery, right? But I didn't mind talking to him about it. And when people, like we were talking about the the physical, hey, I'll kick your ass, and then guy like nowadays is they'll hide. I'll call the police, and when you look at try to frame this, someone like you is never going to pick on someone weaker than you.
Yeah.
Okay. And so someone weaker than you that wants to have a debate or a conversation with you is going to handle it like an adult.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to go up and poke on your chest.
They're not going to make memes about you.
Yeah, no. They're going to come up and be, hey, Mike, I want to talk about this. Right?
Yeah.
That intermediate demographic is the ones that try to stir up as much crap as they can. And then when you confront them verbally or physically, I'll call the police or whatever. Right? And so what I'm getting at here is like, I think that as time goes on, when you are able to have pay to play, when you're able to podcast, whatever, and then as their platform weakens, right? Like their following goes down because of this, that might be a point to where you could really get more to the root of the problem of like, hey, why did you start a hate page? Like, does that make any sense? Probably not that much, because when someone's power is their hate page, and then you start your own page, meaning on your website, their hate page lost a lot of traction. Right? Yeah. It seems to me, if I started tomorrow on the Kifaru website, all my tech tips, info, everything, and I got off of Instagram tomorrow and said, hey, come here, my life will be a lot less stressful.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about hate pages. It won't grow as much, right? But I'm losing all the negativity.
Yes.
If you did that tomorrow and your following is bigger than mine, what do you gain from that? If you shut down Instagram tomorrow, what would you gain?
Just a peace of mind, but business-wise, yeah.
Yeah, you gain like mental happiness and lose business.
Yeah.
Right? I think at some point in time in the next 3 to 5 years, 1 to 3, I think those things are going to probably intersect to where social media is going to be at a point to where I think people are looking for you starting your own page, right?
Yeah.
I think.
I think people right now are looking for that, because I think people are burned out, man. I think people are exhausted from all the drama. I mean, you look on there's not one topic, even optimistic and very clear-cut cases of content that you can't really debate. People will turn into their own debate. They'll turn into their own argument, their own position and platform to deplatform, to gaslight, to do whatever it is. And you're like, this wasn't a controversial topic.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like EDC, everyday carry every day, and you guys are turning this into like some controversy. When you can't even get a point or educational piece across because of the nature of the algorithm, because it's funny, is like we talk about this, but you should know, if you're an intelligent human being, the people who are being subjugated to this aren't the bad guys, it's the trolls, because the trolls are actually being manipulated by the algorithm. I mean, human beings are so damn sensitive and so damn fragile. And when I go to people and I have reasonable conversations and I'm like, so you went off the hinge there, like what happened? And you're like, I don't even know, man. I was like, everything was cool. And then I got upset. It's because the damn algorithm that has billions of dollars invested, trillions of dollars invested, is literally leading you to the conclusion that you need more drama, more emotion, more anger. And it's like, I got enough anger in my life, in my heart. Yeah. I don't need any of that from a social media platform.
Well, I'll bring up a good example while we're on, this podcast is recently I did a Q&A. And in that Q&A, I bet there was probably, I don't know if you've ever seen mine, but it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
We're talking like 5,000 questions.
Oh, wow.
And I probably answer 500 of them.
Yeah.
Out of those 500 I answered, I bet 30 to 50 were related to Black Rifle Coffee. What about this Democratic way? And I'm like, man, you need it. One of the ones I answered, I said, I need more context because I've heard multiple versions of this story. I know the actual truth to every one of them.
Yeah.
One of them was Evan lost a bet in a shooting competition and it was $500, not 50,000, not some of this bullshit I heard. It would be like, hey, Mike, if I kick your ass in arm wrestling, you've got to donate money to, I don't know, pick some shit I'd make fun of you over. You got to. Evan lost that bet, and it was $500 to Obama campaign. That's the one thing I know is true. That's one story where the other one was Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really call her a Democrat, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm literally answering all of these, and like with what you just talked about is like, Jesus, people, like, do your research. Like, look, like Tulsi Gabbard's a fucking animal. Like,
she's
awesome.
a beast.
Oh, yeah.
Lieutenant Colonel Reserve. She just interviewed me filling in on Fox News for Tucker Carlson. I mean, she left she disaffected from the toxic Democratic Party and literally said that out loud and announced it. But somehow, because you're the worst one, I don't know if you heard about this. The worst one was there's employees of Black Rifle Coffee who have donated to the Democratic Party. And I'm like, okay, there's 2,000 employees. I have 50 employees, 25 that are full-time, 25 that are subcontracted. And I can't ask them legally what their political affiliation is. You have 2,000 employees that work for you, and you find employees that donate to the Democratic Party. That is half of the country voted Democrat this last election. And this guy who said this, he's like, yeah, screw Black Rifle Coffee. I literally looked on his page, and he has a Jeep page. And I'm like, okay, Dodge Chrysler. Have you looked into how many employees from Dodge and Chrysler are donating to the Democratic Party? If you haven't, then shame on you. And if you have, you would be burning your Jeep down to the ground in your driveway, according to your own outrage.
Yeah.
What the hell are we talking about here?
And whether it be the hunting community or what we're talking, I mean, all of it, like, let's face it, right? Like, it's a free country, right? We're in the United States, so it's what, vote Democrat. I don't give a shit. Like, whatever.
Do you?
Yeah, exactly. But I have 3 employees I know right now voted Democrat.
Yeah.
Awesome employees, good people.
Yeah.
Now, do their views parallel? No, fuck no.
Yeah.
But they're good people, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to go out there and like fire them because they voted Democrat. Like, that's not my
because they have
view.
a job to do.
Yeah, they do their job.
And they're American
people. Yeah, exactly. Like, and so
talking about they're communists or
it's strange. And I mean, in like I said, hunting, photography, tactical, it's all the same. But I think what's going to happen, and I was kind of going off in a tangent earlier. Let's rewind. Long time ago, tactical or hunting magazines. So all you had, right? Whether it's Soldier of Fortune, whatever. Then you had forums. Right? You had tactical forums and like Fieldcraft forums and hunting forums. And then podcasts got big. Forums kind of went to the wayside, and then podcasts got huge.
They blew up, yeah.
Yep. And then YouTube kind of stayed in there the entire way. And in social media, right after, forums, social media and podcasts, first social, then podcasts got big. So I think the podcast thing, because it's like listen to a book.
Yeah.
Right?
One-way communication.
I don't think that's going anywhere for the good ones.
Yeah.
Right. I think social media for hunting, tactical, anything like that, I would bet in the next 3 to 5 years, it's going to go to key, I don't want to call them influencers, key people, personnel that are getting out good info are going to get tired of the shit like you and I are, start their own drop-down website, portion to, like right now, do I want to ask Mike and your crew of what pistol to carry or what pistol my wife should get for home defense? Mm-hmm. If I ask you and your crew, you're going to tell me normal.
Yeah.
If I post that on something publicly,
oh my God.
Oh yeah, Mike's
get ready for it.
Yeah, he want a P365.
Yeah.
Yo, that's horrible.
I'm a corporate shill.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and
what?
so, I mean, that's where I think really, like, whether it be hunting or tactical or anything, it's going to evolve. And I think it's going to evolve out of social media.
Yeah, I think the advice I was giving you is, I moved to Patreon, and, I got 1,000 Patreon members who follow me, and the people who have left my Patreon, we just did the survey, 90% of the people who leave my Patreon cite finances. Mm-hmm. Whether it's recession related, the current state of the economy, but we do 40% more content on my Patreon than 40% of all pages on Patreon. Like we go
more
above and beyond to provide that value. You know how many comments I get negative on Patreon? 0. Big fat 0. Big fat goose egg. We're on locals now, but we're planning on migrating to our own application because we want a free side of it and we want a paid side of it where if you're on that platform, it's because you want to receive the information and education. I've spent a decade like you putting shit out for free. And when I told Aron, I'm like, brother, you don't owe anybody shit.
Yeah.
You have been doing what you do as a subject matter expert, expressing all of this value for absolutely no cost to anybody. You haven't asked for shit. And philanthropically, you've been helping everybody out, and you still get attacked. It's almost the nature of the generation that's up and coming, and I'm fucking done with it. I mean, it's one of the reasons I moved to podcast. I'm doing long-form communication through YouTube. I'm fucking done with it. Instagram as a platform, to me, is completely gone. I mean, they've lost. I mean, Facebook banned me because they're so suppressive. They think if you can or jar and you prepare, you're an extremist. But I'm fucking done with Instagram completely.
Yeah, I'm working on it right now, and there's one like specific event that happened recently, but like big picture, if my main goal is just to teach, right, because again, I'm not in it for the greater good of the glory of Aron Snyder, right? I'm trying to get the fuck out of this and hide from the world, right? If it's just to teach, show people, Kifaru, help the company. I don't want to, if I can do that without getting on Instagram and the negative side of things, then that is the route I'm going. Now, I may still keep a Instagram page.
Yeah.
I'm just, now
you'll use it to drive traffic. You don't need to be there for the friggin' thread war.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And I think too that when you talked about like this demographic, you and I, how old are you now?
43.
Yeah, we're about the same age.
Yeah.
For someone to say something to the effect of like, "Hey, I'm not afraid of you, Mike, but if you touch me, I'm going to call the police." You and I aren't used to that. You know what I mean? Like, when you
I would punch myself in the face before I said that out loud.
Well, you're a coward, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a cowardly thing. And now to say like there's tons of people that can kick the shit out of you and me, right?
Yeah.
Most of the alpha male type mentalities, like I could have a problem with Tim Kennedy and I would have no issue, be like, "Hey man, let's talk about this."
Yeah.
But if I'm talking about Tim negatively, saying Tim's a piece of crap, Tim's this, whatever, by default in my era, Tim has like the green light to kick shit out of me.
Be prepared for the consequences.
Yeah,
of that.
exactly. It's not that way anymore.
Because there's no consequence. Yeah.
There's no consequence. And I think that, and again, it's, full circle. Get off of Instagram. Go to a place where you can learn, stay away from that. Because let's face it, when you run into those people, it's a totally different story at that point. You know what I mean? Like Eddie was talking about that earlier. If you run into somebody that's been talking crap about you at a show, are they going to be the same person online when they're in front of you? No.
Hell no.
Yeah.
They know
so, that. The one I was dealing with recently was like, hey, I have no issue standing up in front of you. I'm not afraid of you. But yeah, I'm going to call the police the moment anything goes physical. I'm not raised that way, right? I'm not.
That was said out loud.
On a video.
Oh, my God.
So
from a hater.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it was a guy that was a friend of mine at one point. Eddie was funny. He's like, well, dude, he already played his cards. How will you go to bed at night with your kid and say, I'm a man to your son or daughter? Like, yeah. But for you and I or Eddie or people in that demographic, which hopefully this doesn't stir up any more crap, but makes people think about it, it is not in our mentality, our DNA, how we were raised. Like not to say there's not a ton of people that can't kick my ass or yours.
Yeah.
But we're not going to put ourselves in a position to verbally talk crap and then hide later, right? I mean, that's just not what you do.
Yeah, we're willing to confront the circumstances based on our mouths. We're willing to write that check.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But most are not.
Yeah. No, and it's weird because like my grandpa would have beaten me to death if I said, I'm not afraid of you the moment you touched me. I'm going to call the police. My grandpa would have beat me to death for saying that. But I mean, it's coward. Like it's cowardly, right?
Yeah.
And now that doesn't mean, and this is the point I was trying to get across to some people messaging me is like, look, there is another way to handle that, right? Like let's talk about it. If I have a huge issue with you, talk about that issue.
Yes.
But, and I get it. Like you're going to say things, social media or whatever, but it's like, if you're going to talk that much crap about Mike or Aron, there are repercussions. When they are potentially physical and you say, I'm not scared of you, but I'll call the police, that really defines how much things have changed in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
When you were on the playground, right? Like you didn't get, back in the day and you did something that deserved a butt whooping, you got it. Where now it's not that way anymore.
Yeah, it's like you might go to the metaverse and have a virtual standoff.
As I understand it, in the military now they have you don't get smoked anymore. Right?
Oh no, no, they have the cards now. They have apps. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the world where that's the thing, right? It's what is it called? It's the ability to deal with confrontation, right? A lot of people cannot deal with confrontation. I tell the story where I've shaken a guy's hand and did so firmly and made eye contact with him. He went to somebody else and said, "Hey, what's up with Mike, man? Like, what do you mean? Like, he's a good dude. Like, what are you talking about? Like, something happened?" He goes, "I don't know, man." When he grabbed my hand, he pulled me in and he grabbed my arm and he looked me in the eye and he's like, "Yeah, he does that with everybody. Did he tell you he was gonna beat your ass or something?" Like, no. He just shook my hand. He's like, "Well, so what's the problem?" Well, he just seemed like he was aggressive. Like, what?
Yeah, that's weird.
What the hell is going on in this? Anyways, we digress.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could talk about this all night. I think though, if anybody listening in and I wrote an article recently about back when I was your age, basically talking crap about people telling me not to beat the crap out of myself physically.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and did it anyway. Didn't listen to the older school. I think the one thing is treat people with respect.
Yep.
Until the point they don't deserve that, right? Bring everyone up around you. Try to make everyone better around you. Be a good person, right? And so, I mean, I literally tell people that constantly. It's like, hey, I'm going to treat you with all of the respect you treat me.
Until you're not a professional.
And then I'm going to fuck you up.
Yes.
That's what's getting me in trouble now, though. It's like,
yeah.
Is that specific portion of it is I've got to write letters. I can't physically handle it anymore. And I have got to get better. You talked to me about it. Yeah. Eddie talked to me about it today. It was like, dude, think about it this way. That person has to go to bed at night knowing his kid knows, his wife knows he's a coward.
Yeah. And
Sleep easy on your end, dude. Don't let it
and he
bug you.
probably, because he sounds insane, is justifying it some way, but there's no doubt he's got a tuck back, taped back. You know, it's tucked and taped. And you know, and this doesn't have to do with machismo. It has everything to do with like virtue. You want to stand out there, you want to run your mouth, then be prepared. I have the same rule. Your rule number one, be a professional, right? DJ from GBRS says that a lot. Like, be a pro. If you want to be a professional, but you're doing memes about me, I will never give you the respect that you think you deserve. I'll just never talk to you. It's so easy for me because back in the day when me and Aron grew up, it was Control-Alt-Delete. I'll Control-Alt-Delete you out of my life. And that's why my circle's small. It's Aron Snyder, Evan Hafer, Andy Stump, Jack Carr, Logan, JT, Matt, all these guys. Jericho, I don't want to skip anybody there, I'm sorry. But all these guys are my inner circle. They are my best buds. We would do anything for each other, but you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang out with. If you hang out with 5 shitheads, then you're going to be a shithead because you're the sum of them. Yeah. So when it comes to that, man, none of these dudes are worth your time either.
Charlie Beckwith was right.
Yeah.
He said, I would rather paddle upstream with 5 studs than downstream with 100 shitheads.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. And it's true. My circle is getting smaller and smaller. My wife worries, right? Like, my wife's like, hey, what do you do? I'm like, look, my circle is like 3 people. Like, and I was like, and I'm good with that. Like, I'm a loner anyway.
Yeah.
But no, I if anybody takes anything from this podcast, truly, like, treat people with respect, build everyone up around you. And if you are willing to talk shit, there are repercussions for that, and be prepared. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. If I said, Jesus, Mike, you're a horrible hunter. Gee, learn how to hunt elk. And you're like, hey, motherfucker, what? We're going to talk about it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've talked about
And you're
this.
right, I'm a horrible hunter.
Well, but right, well, yeah, if I went to clear a house, you'd be like, Jesus, you are dumber than dirt. But those are the things when you're what I would consider a man, are handled verbally, not a big deal. You go through a hot wash, like you may be called a dumbass.
Yep.
Nowadays, it's just not going to happen, and I hope that maybe people like you or me and other Matt Best and Stump or whatever can hopefully swing it back to what I feel is going to be better than the virtue signaling and the Crimea River, the victim mentality, right?
Yeah.
And
that's what it's victimhood. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Not everybody needs a gold star, right? If you suck, work harder, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't get a trophy, but
yeah. Well, now everybody's got a trophy because it's called Instagram. They can just get on there and just run their mouths. Hey, I got an idea for you. How about you just block and delete, or I'll just block and delete you for you, or unfollow you. Aron, where can people go to find what you got going on, and where can they go to get awesome bags from Kifaru?
Gotcha. So Kifaru.net. So it's KIFARU.net.
You guys don't have .com?
Dude, if you want to get into that real quick.
Yeah, let's do it. What's this?
Jesus. So I'm on the side of the mountain and I'm with my CFO. We call this dude, right? And I mean, he's I don't know if he's from Saudi or whatever, but the dude bought all these domain names ahead of time.
Just a bankroll.
Just a bankroll.
Yep.
He's like, well, I'll take 5% of your company. And I'm like, what? I'm like,
5% of your company?
Yeah. Well, what is option B? 165,000. I'm like, you can go fuck yourself. Right? Like, yeah, no, I'm not paying you that. So for .com, which now there's actually there's laws being made for this that we can actually get it for a realistic price. But I know the .com, like, dude, I literally am on an elk and I'm like, there's elk around us, like close. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding? 105% of the company. And that's what they do. He literally, we looked it up. He bought 1,580 different IP addresses.
Oh my gosh.
10 years ago to sell them.
Wow.
So, but Kifaru.net, so KIFARU.net, not .com. And then Kifarucast, Kifaru2, whatever, it's just KIFARU on YouTube. And then ARONSNYDER is my Instagram page. And then, I'm on just Google, whatever. I'm on all kinds of podcasts and do tech tips and things like that. So,
yeah, I'll put all those links below, and I hope we talked about it this year. We talked about it at the SIG Hunter Games last year. By the time this airs, we need to get together and do some co-collaboration for education, for hunter's ed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because we're doing the app that's preparedness related, but I want to use guys like Barklow, like Snyder, the subject matter experts in hunting to provide that education. I hope to bring the experts to you. That's what I look at Fieldcraft as the conduit to that. But I want to see a Fieldcraft Kifaru thing where we get involved together. I mean, you're right on the road, man.
Yeah, definitely. We're a lot closer now. So no, and man, I appreciate you having me on here. And I just hope that people like you and Andy and Evan, Tim Kennedy, it's going to be an uphill road to hoe, but hopefully we can swing things back into I don't want to say in the 80s and 90s, but Jesus, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like
I missed the 80s, man.
I was good with not wearing a seatbelt or a helmet, and I ended up fine. Like, good Lord, people. But yeah. But thank you for having me on, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming out. We'll get back to basics, man. Check out Kifaru and Aron Snyder. All those links will be down below. Appreciate you guys tuning into the Black Rifle Coffee Podcast. Till next time. Peace out, guys.
That concludes today's training. Any questions? Woo! Drum titties, boy!